Tonight, MSU football coach Mel Tucker is on unpaid leave while he's being investigated for sexual harassment.
According to a report in USA Today, leading sexual assault awareness expert and rape survivor Brenda Tracy said Tucker made unwanted sexual comments and engaged in a sex act without her consent while they were on the phone in April of 2022.
A Title IX hearing to determine if he violated policy is scheduled for October 5th. For more on this story, let's bring in Matt Friedman, founding partner of the Tanner Friedman PR firm, and Dr. Brooke Weingarden, a psychiatrist with Birmingham Maple Clinic. Thank you both for being here tonight.
Thank you.
Matt, MSU has known about this allegation since December. Why do you think they waited so long for them to take action here? Do you believe it's because this USA Today report came out yesterday?
It sure seems like it. I would have liked to have heard them in their press conference on Sunday night explain the timetable, but they chose not to. There may have been a very good reason for it based on what the law dictates, but we didn't hear that. So the expectation of the public and the MSU community is that they would have communicated sooner, and that has compounded and made the situation even more difficult than it would have been otherwise, because there's so much confusion about why it took so long and why they had to act when they acted. But it sure seems, if you connect the dots, like if not for that USA Today story or some other leak, that they'd still be keeping this information secret.
Exactly to your point. I mean, what are people supposed to do, members of the MSU community? What are they supposed to do with the knowledge that the university has known the same information from Saturday until now, and now the coach is on an unpaid leave, and it seems like the only thing that has changed is that the public is aware. What are people supposed to do with that?
It does, and that's why they're so confused, and that's why there are so many questions. I think the university had an opportunity to communicate the law, and we deal with this with clients all the time, where it's not because they won't share information, it's because they can't. And audiences are very accepting of that if you explain it to them. But that didn't happen here. It seems like they were just keeping their fingers crossed, maybe had a lucky horseshoe or something that they were hanging on to and hoping it wouldn't leak. But luck and hope are not communications strategies, and they're paying a price for it right now with their audiences really upset.
Brooke, let's bring you into the conversation. Does it feel like this is happening all over again? We know all about the Larry Nassar situation that went on at MSU. Does it feel like it's the same story?
Well, I mean, it's very hard to say in that respect. You know, my focus mainly is just how this is really affecting, you know, the students and the community and anybody who's suffered from any kind of sexual trauma, and how this may bring up triggers for them. And, you know, my focus is the mental health aspect of this, to really make sure that people are getting the support that they need. So I really can't speak to each individual case, as they, you know, I'm certainly not there, but any kind of situation that involves a trauma is going to severely impact how somebody is functioning and how somebody, you know, it affects the brain chemistries, and there's very specific things that they need to do to be supported in order to be able to move forward in that. So really, that's my thing that I have to, you know, make sure that everybody is aware of, and that everybody is remembering about this story, that sexual trauma is a trauma, and trauma is very specifically treated.
Brooke, what kind of impact do you think headlines like this, shocking news, you know, a scandal, for lack of a better word, when this happens, what kind of impact does it have on other survivors and perhaps their willingness to come forward?
Well, I think that certainly in situations where people speak up and are not believed by those around them, that is very triggering to those that have suffered any type of trauma, especially a sexual trauma, because it really makes them feel more hesitant to feel comfortable speaking up and being able to really seek the treatment that they need. It's a very sensitive subject, and it takes a lot to be able to bring these things up to somebody that they trust to even be able to move forward to it. A lot of people keep this to themselves and suffer much more. I hope that they can take from this that it is important to be able to speak up, and that there are things available to be able to help and support them, and that the community cares about, you know, helping and supporting those who have been victims of trauma and sexual trauma and anything like this. so that they can feel supported. Seeing things like this is absolutely triggering. It's something that, you know, people may experience flashbacks or nightmares or any other kinds of trauma response. And I hope that they remember that this is not something that they've done wrong, and that they do have, you know, therapists and doctors and psychiatrists that are available to provide the support that they need, to be able to get through this.
Matt, so far Mel Tucker has said this is completely false and her characterization of sexual harassment is just not true. And it was a mutual consensual phone conversation, and he's claiming that she initiated it. But when you hear more in that statement and you read in between the lines, does it sound like he believes he has a shot to stay at MSU?
It really does not. It seems like what he's trying to do is issue a closing salvo. The statement that he issued late today reeks of hubris. This is somebody who just wants you to know all about him. He doesn't have any language in there about the university community. He waits until the end of the statement to address his team. This is somebody who's very angry, and it's really difficult for audiences to connect with that sort of emotional statement at a time like this. I just don't think most people want to hear it. Bad judgment is bad judgment regardless of the circumstances. And he's put the university in an even tougher position now because he stepped out of bounds from this legal process. And now they have to decide, do they step out of bounds too? Or do they stay in line to the next couple weeks when this hearing is supposed to happen, which he's now called a sham? So it's very difficult for everybody involved, and it seems like sooner or later leaders are going to have to lead. And audiences look to leaders in times of crisis. They want leaders to step up. They want leaders to chart a course. And words matter. The language that leaders matters. So I think that's probably the next step here. But is it going to come in a couple of days or in a couple of weeks? It's really hard to say.
Well, certainly the conversation will be ongoing for some time. Brooke, do you have any final thoughts for people as we wade through the headlines and responses and back and forth that is sure to come over this?
I mean, I think it's just important to remember that, you know, trauma is real, and there are lots of people that have suffered from trauma of this nature, and we hope to be in a world and in a community where these things are not happening, but as of today they do happen. And it's important, like you said, that the words that we use, so that we can put out the right message that we are supporting the community and supporting people that have struggled with these types of traumas, and remembering that there is help available to continue that support.
Well, we may learn Mel Tucker's fate next month during a hearing. We appreciate both of you joining us tonight. PR expert Matt Friedman and psychiatrist Dr. Brooke Weingarden. Thanks for being here tonight.
Thank you.